The world had always known how it would end. Not with silence, not with slow decay, but with fire that would swallow the sky itself. For centuries, the prophecy had been whispered in temples, carved into stone, and passed down through trembling voices. When the final dragon wakes, the world will burn, not in anger, but in destiny. His name was Veilrith, and he was not born like other creatures. He was made, long before kingdoms rose and fell, before empires carved borders into the land. The gods had forged a living end, a being that would one day erase everything they had grown tired of. Veilrith was that ending, a dragon whose wings could blot out the sun, whose breath could reduce oceans to steam, whose very presence bent the air into trembling submission. And for thousands of years, he slept. High above the world, beyond the reach of men and memory, lay the Ashen Range, a jagged crown of mountains scorched black, as if the earth itself had once tried to flee. At its peak rested a massive shape, unmoving, timeless, waiting, until the sky broke. It began with a crack, not a sound, but a feeling, like reality itself had split open. Clouds twisted violently. The wind screamed. Birds fell from the sky mid-flight, as if the world had forgotten how to hold them. Then, a roar. It wasn't just heard. It was felt. Across continents, people dropped to their knees, clutching their chests as the sound passed through them like a storm inside their bones. Cities froze. Armies faltered. Even the ocean stilled for a single, impossible moment. Veilrith had awakened. His eyes opened, two blazing suns burning in the darkness. And with that single motion, the prophecy began. He rose slowly, as if time itself struggled to keep up. Stone cracked beneath him. Entire cliffs collapsed as his wings unfolded, stretching wider than any living thing had the right to be. When he moved, the sky dimmed. When he breathed, the air ignited. Far below, the first kingdom saw him. At first, they thought it was a storm. Then a shadow. Then, nothing. Fire rained from the heavens. Walls melted like wax. Towers collapsed before alarms could finish ringing. Thousands vanished in seconds, leaving behind only ash drifting through the wind. There were no screams loud enough, no weapons strong enough, no prayers answered. This was not war. This was inevitability. Veilrith moved across the world like a force of nature. He did not chase. He did not hunt. He simply existed, and everything in his path ceased to. Days passed, or perhaps hours. Time no longer mattered. Kingdom after kingdom fell. The bravest warriors charged him, only to disappear before their blades could even rise. Great mages unleashed spells that lit the sky, and were swallowed whole by a single breath. Still, Veilrith did not think, did not hesitate, did not feel, because he was not meant to. Deep within him, older than memory, older than thought, was a command, a purpose carved into his very being. End it. And so he did, until he reached the valley. It was small, forgotten, already half destroyed by the chaos spreading across the land. Burned trees stood like blackened bones. The ground was cracked and lifeless. Smoke drifted endlessly through the air. There was nothing left to save, nothing left to destroy. Or so it should have been. Veilrith descended anyway. His massive body struck the earth with a force that shattered what remained of the valley floor. Ash and debris exploded outward as his wings folded slowly behind him. His eyes scanned the ruins, searching, not with intent, but because something felt different. And then he saw it. A single figure, a human, standing in the middle of the valley. Not running, not hiding, waiting. Veilrith tilted his head slightly, the motion subtle yet enough to send ripples through the air. This was wrong. Humans always fled. They screamed. They begged. This one did none of those things. The dragon stepped forward. Each movement cracked the earth beneath him. Heat poured from his body in waves, turning stone to glowing embers. The human didn't move. Closer. Flames began to gather in Veilrith's chest, swirling brighter, hotter, power building instinctively, naturally. This was how it always ended. The human lifted his head. Veilrith saw his face clearly now. Young, tired, alone. Still he did not run. The dragon opened his jaws. Fire surged upward, ready to erase the final remnant of life in the valley. And then, the human spoke. Are you tired? The flames flickered. For the first time since his creation, Veilrith stopped. The fire dimmed. The air stilled. The world held its breath. Because something impossible had just happened. The dragon of the end had hesitated. The fire should have fallen. The valley should have vanished. The humans should have been nothing more than ash carried away by the wind. But none of that happened. The flames in Veilrith's throat flickered, then faded. Slowly. Unnaturally. Silence swallowed the valley. The dragon lowered his massive head, heat still radiating from his scales. His molten eyes locked onto the human standing before him. So small. So fragile. So unmoving. This was wrong. Everything about this moment was wrong. Are you tired? The words echoed again in Veilrith's mind, like a crack forming in something ancient and unbreakable. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Not in fear. Not in defiance. But in concern. The human stepped forward. Just one step. The ground beneath his feet was still warm, still glowing faintly from the dragon's presence. Ash crunched softly under his boots. Still he didn't stop. Veilrith's wings twitched, instinct urging him to act, to finish what he was made to do, to burn, to end. But something held him back. Why do you not run? His voice rolled like distant thunder, deep and vast enough to shake the sky itself. The human winced, but didn't step back. My name is Aaron, he said, as if that mattered, as if names had any meaning left in a dying world. Veilrith's eyes narrowed slightly. I did not ask your name. Aaron gave a faint, tired smile. Yeah, I figured. There was something strange about him. Not bravery, not stupidity. Something quieter, something heavier. Aaron looked around the ruined valley, the burned trees, the broken earth, the sky still stained with smoke. There's nowhere left to run, he said simply. Veilrith followed his gaze. For the first time, not as a force, but as something observing. The destruction, the emptiness, the absence of life. He had done this. The thought should have meant nothing. It had always meant nothing. But now, everyone else already ran. Aaron continued softly. Or they died trying. A pause. So I stayed. The dragon's chest rumbled faintly. Stay to die. Aaron shook his head. No. He looked up, directly into the blazing eyes of the creature meant to end everything. I stayed because someone had to see you. The words struck harder than any weapon. Veilrith stilled. See me. The concept felt foreign, unfamiliar, almost meaningless. Aaron nodded. Everyone talks about you like you're a storm, or a weapon, or something that just happens. He hesitated, then added quietly, But you're not, are you? Something inside Veilrith shifted. A flicker. A fracture. I am the end, the dragon said. The words came automatically, like they always had. But this time, they didn't feel complete. Aaron tilted his head slightly. That's what they say, he replied. A beat. But is that what you want? The air froze. Veilrith's wings spread slightly, instinct reacting to something deeper than threat. Want. The word felt wrong in his mouth. Heavy. Unfitting. I do not want, he said, his voice sharper now. I was made. Aaron stepped closer again, closer than any human had ever been and lived. Made to do what? He asked. The answer came instantly. To end this world. But as the words left him, something resisted. Aaron studied him quietly. Then, after a long moment, that sounds lonely. The dragon recoiled slightly, not physically, but in something far deeper. Lonely. Another word he didn't understand. Another concept that didn't belong to him. And yet, there was something in it. Something uncomfortable. Something real. I am not alone, Veilrith growled. I am with purpose. Aaron's expression softened. That's not the same thing. The silence that followed was different now. Not empty. Not peaceful. But filled with something neither of them could name. High above, the clouds began to shift again. Darkening. Watching. Veilrith felt it. That presence. That pressure. A distant pull. Tightening around him like invisible chains. A reminder. He straightened, his body tensing. This ends now, he said. Flames reignited in his chest. Stronger this time. Brighter. More forceful. As if something beyond him demanded it. Aaron didn't move. Yeah, he said quietly. A small, sad smile touching his lips. I figured it would. But still, he didn't run. Veilrith opened his jaws. The fire surged. The world seemed to hold its breath again. And then, Aaron stepped forward one last time, and raised his hand, not in defense, not in surrender, but in something far more dangerous. Trust. His fingers touched the dragon's burning scales, and for the second time, the fire faltered. The moment Aaron's hand touched the dragon, the world changed. It wasn't visible at first. No explosion, no thunder, no immediate sign that anything had gone wrong. But Veilrith felt it, a fracture, deep within him, beneath fire, beneath instinct, beneath the ancient command carved into his very existence. Something cracked. The flames in his chest stuttered, then dimmed, then stopped. The valley fell into a silence so complete it felt unnatural. Aaron didn't pull his hand away, even as heat shimmered against his skin, even as the scales beneath his fingers pulsed like living embers. He stayed. "You don't have to," he whispered. Veilrith's entire body trembled. The words echoed through him, not as sound, but as something deeper. A contradiction, a defiance, a possibility. And then, pain. It came without warning. A crushing force slammed into Veilrith's mind, like the weight of the sky itself, collapsing inward. "Fulfill your purpose." The voice was not heard. It was absolute. The ground shattered beneath Veilrith's claws as his body convulsed, massive wings flaring outward in a storm of ash and fire. Aaron was thrown back, rolling across the scorched earth, before scrambling to his feet. "Veilrith!" The dragon roared. But this time, it wasn't destruction. It was agony. Flames burst uncontrollably from his jaws, scorching the sky, tearing through clouds that had begun to gather unnaturally overhead. The heavens themselves were responding. Darkness spread across the sky. Not the smoke of destruction, but something deeper. Something watching. Veilrith staggered, his massive form shaking as invisible chains tightened around his will. "You were created for this." The voice returned, stronger, colder. Images flooded his mind. Not memories. Commands. Cities burning. Oceans boiling. The world breaking beneath his wings. "You are the end." Veilrith's claws dug into the earth, carving deep scars into the valley floor as he fought against something that had never been meant to be resisted. "I will not." His voice broke. The pressure increased. "You do not choose." The word struck like a hammer. Veilrith's head snapped toward Aaron. His eyes, once blazing with destructive purpose, now flickered wildly between fire and something else. Something uncertain. "Run," he roared. The command shook the valley, echoing across the broken land. Aaron didn't move. Instead, he stepped forward again. "Stop," Veilrith bellowed, flames surging violently around him. "I cannot hold it." But Aaron kept walking. Each step was slow, careful, certain. The sky above them split open. Light poured through the darkness, not warm, not gentle, but sharp and blinding, like the edge of something eternal. Figures began to form within it, colossal, endless, not bodies of flesh, but shapes of pure will, vast and incomprehensible. The gods. They did not descend. They did not need to. Their presence alone bent reality. The air thickened. The ground groaned. Even the light itself seemed to hesitate beneath their gaze. "This deviation is unacceptable." The voice came from everywhere. Nowhere. Aaron shielded his eyes, struggling to breathe beneath the crushing pressure. "What are they?" Veilrith's entire body shook. "My creators," he growled. Another wave of force slammed into him. His wings collapsed inward, his body lowered, not in submission, but because it was being forced. "End him." The command was simple, absolute. Flames exploded back to life within Veilrith's chest, brighter than before. Hotter, more violent. This time he couldn't stop it. His jaws opened. Fire gathered. Aaron stood directly in front of him, still, unmoving. "Go." Veilrith roared desperately, but Aaron shook his head. "No." The flames surged higher. "You're not alone," Aaron said, his voice barely audible against the storm of power surrounding them. Veilrith's vision blurred. The command, the fire, the pressure, everything pushed him toward one inevitable act, destroy, end, fulfill. But through it all, there was something else. A hand, still resting against his scales, still warm, still real. You can choose, Aaron whispered. The words cut through everything, and for a single impossible moment, Vaelrith believed him. The fire wavered, the sky trembled, the gods went silent, and then Vaelrith roared, not in pain, not in destruction, but in defiance. His wings snapped open, tearing through the invisible force holding him down. The ground beneath him shattered as he rose, higher, stronger, burning with something that had never existed within him before. I am not your end. The sky cracked. The light above twisted violently as the presence of the god shifted, for the first time, not in control, but in resistance. Aaron stared upward, breath caught in his chest. "What are you doing?" he whispered. Vaelrith's gaze hardened, locking onto the heavens themselves. "For the first time," he said, his voice no longer bound by command, "I am choosing." And the world trembled, because the dragon of the end had just declared war against destiny itself. The sky began to unravel, not tear, not break, unravel. Threads of light and darkness twisted together above the valley, pulled tight by forces far beyond mortal understanding. The presence of the gods grew heavier, sharper, like the weight of existence itself pressing down on everything below. Vaelrith rose against it. His wings beat once, just once, and the shockwave shattered what remained of the valley. Ash spiraled upward, caught between two impossible forces, creation and defiance. "You defy what you were made to be." The voice of the gods was no longer distant. It was everywhere, inside the air, inside the ground, inside him. Vaelrith's body convulsed. Cracks of blazing light began to spread across his scales, like something inside him was trying to break free, or tear him apart. "I was made," he growled, his voice strained, distorted. "To end." Then end. The command slammed into him like a collapsing star. Vaelrith roared as his wings faltered midair. His massive form dropped, crashing back into the valley with enough force to split the earth open. Aaron was thrown off his feet again, barely catching himself against a shattered stone. "Vaelrith." The dragon didn't respond. He couldn't. His mind was being torn apart. Visions surged through him. Endless destruction, worlds collapsing, skies burning. The prophecy, the purpose, the command, all repeating, over and over, louder each time. "You are the end. You are the fire. You are the inevitable." Vaelrith's claws dug into the ground, carving deep trenches as he struggled to hold himself together. "I won't." His voice broke again. Above him, the sky burned white. The forms of the gods sharpened, not fully visible, never fully understandable, but more present than ever before. Watching, judging. "You were not given will." Aaron forced himself forward, step by step, against the crushing pressure. "You're wrong," he shouted. The force of the heavens pushed back instantly, slamming into him like a wall. He staggered, nearly collapsing, but he didn't stop. "He is choosing," Aaron yelled, his voice shaking but unbroken. For a brief moment, the pressure shifted, not gone, but acknowledging. Vaelrith lifted his head slightly, his glowing eyes flickering as they found Aaron again. The human looked impossibly small beneath the collapsing sky. Fragile, temporary, and yet, still standing. "Why?" Vaelrith rasped. The question barely made sense even to him. "Why would you stay?" Aaron reached him, close enough to feel the heat, close enough to see the cracks spreading across the dragon's body, light spilling through them like something breaking apart from the inside. "Because you stayed," Aaron said softly. Vaelrith stilled. "You didn't have to stop," Aaron continued. "You didn't have to hesitate. A breath. But you did." Another crack split across Vaelrith's scales. The light inside him grew brighter, more unstable. Reality itself was rejecting him. Deviation will be corrected. The sky screamed. A beam of pure, blinding force descended from above, not fire, not lightning, but something far worse, something absolute. It struck Vaelrith directly. The world vanished in white. Aaron was thrown backward, the impact ripping the ground apart beneath him. When the light faded, Vaelrith was still there, but barely. His massive form trembled violently. Entire sections of his scales had shattered, dissolving into drifting fragments of light. His wings struggled to remain solid, flickering at the edges like a failing flame. He was being erased. Veilrith! Aaron shouted, scrambling back toward him. The dragon turned his head slowly. For the first time, there was no fire in his eyes. Only something softer. Something human. I cannot win this, he said quietly. Aaron shook his head, desperation rising. Then stop. Just stop fighting. Veilrith let out a weak, rumbling breath. I was never meant to live, he said. Another pulse of light struck him. More of his body fractured. Aaron dropped to his knees beside him. There has to be another way. There isn't. Veilrith lowered his head, bringing himself closer, closer than ever before. You gave me something I was never meant to have, he said. Aaron's voice broke. What? Veilrith's gaze softened. Choice. The word hung in the air. Fragile. Powerful. Above them, the heavens shifted again, gathering for something final. Last command. The voice was colder now. Final. Obey or be erased. The world fell silent. No wind. No sound. No movement. Aaron's heart pounded in his chest. No, he whispered. Don't listen to them. Veilrith closed his eyes. For the first time since his creation, he didn't hear the command first. He heard something else. A quiet voice. A human voice. You don't have to. Veilrith exhaled slowly. And then, he chose. Light erupted from his body. Not wild, not destructive, but focused. Controlled. Different. The cracks across his form spread instantly. Not from force. From release. Aaron's eyes widened. Veilrith, what are you? The dragon opened his eyes one last time. And smiled. A creature made to end the world. Had chosen not to. Even if it meant, he wouldn't exist in it. Light consumed everything. Not fire. Not destruction. Something gentler. For a moment, the world ceased to exist as it had been. No sky. No earth. No pain. Only a vast, endless white, stretching beyond sight, beyond thought. Aaron felt weightless. Soundless. Alone. Veilrith? His voice didn't echo. It barely existed at all. There was no answer. Panic crept in slowly, quietly, like a cold hand tightening around his chest. No, you can't just. The words broke apart before they could finish. Because deep down, he already knew. Veilrith had made his choice. And choices had consequences. The light shifted. At first, it was subtle. A ripple. A movement in the endless white. Then, color returned. Faint. Soft. The outline of the valley slowly reformed around him. Burned earth. Shattered stone. Blackened trees reaching toward a sky that no longer burned. The sky. Aaron looked up. It was blue. Clear. Endless. No fire. No ash. No watching presence pressing down from above. The gods were gone. The weight that had crushed the world moments ago had vanished as if it had never been there. The world was still here. Saved. Aaron's breath caught. Veilrith? He turned and saw him. Not towering. Not endless. Small. A figure lay motionless in the ash, just a few steps away. Aaron stumbled forward, his legs weak, his heart racing faster with every step. It couldn't be. It wasn't possible. The dragon was gone. In his place, a human. Aaron dropped to his knees beside him. The figure was young, no older than him, maybe younger. His hair was dark, streaked faintly with glowing embers that flickered and faded with each breath. Cracks of soft golden light traced across his skin, faint remnants of something far greater. Veilrith? Aaron whispered. The boy's chest rose slowly, weakly, alive. Aaron let out a shaky breath he didn't realize he had been holding. You're here. For a moment, there was no response. Then, the boy stirred. His fingers twitched slightly against the ash, and his eyes opened. They weren't burning anymore. No blazing suns. No endless fire. Just light. Soft. Quiet. Human. He whispered, his voice barely audible. I chose. Aaron laughed, a broken, disbelieving sound. Yeah, you did. Veilrith blinked slowly, his gaze unfocused, as if he were seeing the world for the first time. Because in a way, He was. The fire, he murmured. It's gone. Aaron nodded. So are they. Veilrith's eyes shifted slightly, searching the sky. No pressure. No command. No voice telling him what he was meant to be. Only silence. Freedom. I don't hear them anymore, he said. There was something fragile in his voice. Something uncertain. Aaron smiled softly. That's a good thing. Veilrith was quiet for a long moment. Then, what am I now? The question hung in the air. For the first time, it wasn't rhetorical. Not defined. Not decided. Aaron leaned back slightly, sitting beside him in the ash. Whatever you want to be, he said. Veilrith turned his head slowly, studying him. I don't know how. Aaron chuckled quietly. Yeah, nobody does it first. A breeze passed through the valley. Gentle. Warm. It carried the scent of something new. Not ash, not smoke, but life. In the distance, faint patches of green began to push through the cracked earth. The world was healing, because it had been given the chance to. Veilrith watched it in silence. I was meant to destroy this, he said. Aaron nodded. Yeah. Another pause. And I didn't. Nope. Veilrith closed his eyes briefly, as if trying to understand the weight of that truth. Will it matter? Aaron looked out across the valley, the broken land, the quiet sky, the first signs of something returning. Yeah, he said. A small smile formed on his face. It already does. Veilrith didn't respond, but for the first time, he didn't feel like the end of anything. Only the beginning. Far beyond the world, in places no longer watching, something ancient remained silent, because for the first time in eternity, destiny had been broken, not by war, not by power, but by something far simpler, a choice, and the world that should have ended, lived.